Everybody needs to get around. Some cities are pedestrian friendly and others, like the city that I live in, Edmonton, are not. While planes, trains, and automobiles, as well as gratuitously kitted out trucks, often do the trick, sometimes a more compact and accessible form of transport is better suited. Enter in alternate forms of transport like e-scooters and electric bikes. This form of alternate transportation can be really fun, and it can also be a complete nuisance. Let's talk about how these less mainstream forms of transportation fit into our cities. Every city has to have a transit plan, and I happen to live in Edmonton, a city with one of the worst transit systems you can imagine. For real, we built a light rail transit system that knowingly added 32 minutes onto commute times, blocks access to a hospital, and has experienced numerous system failures. In one of the best National Post articles that I've ever read, the article reads, and I quote, "I urge you, policymakers of Canada, come to Edmonton, examine its failure, immerse yourself in its incompetence, gawk at its ineptitude. And Edmonton's LRT project is the equivalent of a candy company releasing a new chocolate bar called Herpes Al-Qaeda." This is a city that very clearly has not prioritized an effective bus and train transit system. The expectation is that most people will drive everywhere, but this just isn't realistic, and it's also not environmentally friendly. Enter in e-scooters. The e-scooters trend started a few years back in California, and since then it's really taken off, with several companies becoming big players in the industry. Bird, Lime, Lyft, Hive, Jump, Skip, Scoot, Bolt, and others have all come in and commoditized a novel form of transportation. The big players here in Edmonton, though, are Bird and Lime. These scooters offer an alternate solution to short trips that people would otherwise rely on buses, trains, or long walks to do. They provide an opportunity to be outside, enjoying fresh air and sunshine, certainly welcome to anyone escaping the office for a break, and they can be just downright fun to zip around on. While you can buy these scooters for personal use for about $300 at Shoppers Drug Mart, so I've been told by some of my neighbors who've already gone ahead with the purchase. These companies are mostly aimed at rentals. You download an app and you enter your payment info, scan the QR code of the scooter that you'll be using, and with a quick kickoff, you're scooting away to your next destination. Feel free to use that throttle and speed up if you're in a hurry. That's the benefit of an electric scooter. When you're done, simply end your ride and leave the scooter where you stop, preferably tucked out of the way for pedestrians. Although in most markets it's not required, they do encourage you to bring your own helmet for obvious reasons. That sounds great, right? Well, according to a recent survey by the city of Edmonton, there are a lot of concerns with the use of these scooters. While overall, the respondents did see benefits in the use of e-scooters, over 75% of the 1,500 respondents indicated that they wanted to see more education for riders around safety and etiquette. People not knowing where to go or how to interact with pedestrians or vehicles seems to be the main complaint. Pedestrians get annoyed when too many scooters are blocking the footpath or are tipped over. Sometimes they get startled when a scooter user zips past them. And on the flip side, when scooter users are in the bike lanes, they can block bike traffic and are often seen as being a bit unpredictable. This is all fair feedback. Edmonton has never had a particularly strong pedestrian or cycling friendly culture, and we all need to learn some etiquette to get along safely. I would say that this kind of culture is lacking in most Canadian cities that I've visited. That brings me to the next alternate mode of transport, electric bikes. We currently don't have electric bike stations in Edmonton, but I actually wish we did. This is where the pedestrian and cyclist culture comes in. On a vacation to New York several years ago, my wife and I took advantage of the e-bike rentals through City Bike a lot. I can honestly say that as someone who doesn't normally cycle, I wouldn't feel safe riding around downtown Edmonton on a bike, but I did feel completely safe biking around Manhattan. Again, this comes down to culture. There were a lot more cyclists in Manhattan, so people were much more considerate. And when I say people, I don't just mean cyclists, cyclists, I mean pedestrians and drivers too. Even when we ended up in areas without bike lanes, drivers gave us space and were actually pretty patient with our slower speeds. The great thing about e-bikes is that they are essentially a regular bike, but with a battery-powered motor for assisted pedaling. This means you can travel at speeds between 25 to 45 kilometers an hour, which is faster than a typical rider can go on pedal power. You can more easily conquer hills and inclines, plus you can travel further, but you still get the benefit of exercise, so that's a win. Unlike the electric scooter rentals from Bird and Lime, there's no similar option for e-bike quick rentals here in Edmonton. I believe you can rent e-bikes for more per day or for a few hours type of thing. Comment down below if you know where that can be done locally. But if you're really serious about getting into e-biking, then there are plenty of options to purchase one. A quick search online is showing prices anywhere from $1,200 on the low end to over $8,000 on the high end. Yes, that's the price of a used car in some cases, but you're cycling. Here in Edmonton, as long as you have the mandatory helmet on, you can ride e-bikes in our normal rudimentary bike lane system. In the future, I imagine we'll see a huge increase in our space being dedicated to the use for pedestrians, bikes, and scooters of all kinds as the automotive industry transitions to an automated and on-demand system. I recently did a video on all of the electric vehicles with autonomy that are coming in the next year or so, and that industry is really transforming. So how do alternate transport options like e-scooters and e-bikes fit into our cities? Well, they're certainly more than the mere novelty that some people brush them off to be. They're one small, fun part of a greater mobility network within the city. While we all need to learn how to live with and around these scooters and bikes, they're wedging themselves into our lives and will likely grow in popularity as the way we move around our cities continues to evolve. If you liked hearing about e-scooters and e-bikes, why not hit that like button? And if you have some pro tips on using e-bikes or e-scooters in different cities, feel free to drop a comment. Want to see more videos like this? Well, support the channel and subscribe. I post new videos every single Friday. Thanks, and we'll see you in the next one.